Go to items requiring individual action, non-consent. Proposed Resolution 18697, a resolution authorizing the city manager to prepare a request for proposals in order to engage a firm to conduct a forensic audit, requested by Council Members Lewis and Mosley. I need a motion and a second. Councilmember Lewis.
Motion for approval.
Councilmember Scott.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve Proposed Resolution 18697. Questions? Councilmember Williamson.
This came up once before, and it was tabled to a workshop. The workshop didn't take place because the expert who was going to address this couldn't get here. So I'm curious about why this has come up again, since this issue has been tabled to a workshop, and since we absolutely need to have a workshop on it.
City Secretary.
We received the request in our office. It was actually given a new number and put back on at the request of the council members listed.
Okay, well, I'll withhold it for an answer from the council members, and then I'm going to motion to table it again to the workshop, because it absolutely has to be. As the resolution exists, there are no limits. It's a blanket request, and without some kind of specifications, there's no way they can address this anyway.
Councilmember Mosley.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this request came up out of some experiences that I have experienced since being on council. And from the beginning, I have been requesting that we do a forensic audit for the purposes of things that were going on that I thought was necessary. You know, it started out as a sense where our city attorney indicated that the only purposes for using a forensic audit was only for purposes of criminal acts such as fraud or embezzlement. And here's what I want to ask this question again to our city attorney, because I want to get it on record. I want it to be perfectly clear so that I understand it for myself. Did you say that the only reason a forensic audit is used is for purposes of criminal acts such as fraud or embezzlement? I just want to be clear.
The word forensic means suitable for use in a court of law. That is the definition of forensic. So your forensic sciences in that field, whether you're looking at whatever you're looking at, be it an accounting issue, be it a criminal issue, you're reviewing this information to be prepared for court. It is for court purposes. Normally, it would be for the investigation of a crime. Usually, forensic accounting is used in the investigation of theft or some type of white-collar crime, but forensic means preparation and something suitable for preparation for use in a court of law. So it is for court purposes.
Okay.
So if you're dealing with accounting, you know, you would be looking for something for a court of law. It would not, you know, normally forensics is not used for a civil suit. The most common use for a forensic investigation is in the investigation of a crime. That is the most common. Otherwise, it's for court. Sorry.
My question is it used only for purposes of criminal acts such as fraud or embezzlement? Because that's what I thought I heard you say in an earlier meeting, so I just want to clarify. Are you saying that it's for criminal acts such as fraud or embezzlement?
It is most commonly used for an investigation of a crime. Those are some forms of crimes. It could be a theft. It could be a number of different things, but it's for court preparation. Those are the most common uses. Okay. Otherwise, it could be used in a civil suit, but it's for court. Okay. Okay.
Well, let me do this, because I'm no attorney, and I have spoke with some folks in the field, and I've looked at several topics, and I've spoken with some legal folks also, and they have made it pretty clear to me that a forensic audit is used for more than just criminal acts such as fraud or embezzlement. In fact, they've indicated that some purposes for which forensic audits are used is, and they say it like this: forensic audits are often conducted in order to calculate damages caused as a result of negligence or deliberate misconduct. It's indicated that forensic audits may be used to assess living and care costs. It's indicated that forensic audits may be used or done in anticipation of litigation or as part of the trial process. They've even indicated that forensic audits may also serve as internal audits to deter illegal actions by employees or to determine if a worker should be fired. Now,
May I respond?
sure.
As you have stated, so that if you look at those definitions, that preparation is 90% of the time for a trial.
You
The
could
things you
construe-
talked about, litigation.
You can
it's-
construe that. I mean, you can
No,
say,
that's the definition.
you can say that's
the
what it's for.
definition, and I reviewed this and I talked to the DA's office about it. I've thoroughly looked at what forensic means. I mean, you can Google it, but the purpose is preparation for testimony in a court of law. Even if you're looking to see if a staff, for example, you say misconduct or something like that, you're still preparing that to be presented to a court. So, I mean, it can be used as an investigative tool, but ultimately it's for preparation for a court.
Okay. Now, what I also wanted to clear up so that folks will get a clear understanding of my intentions, because there has been a recent development that had brought me to the decision to really request it from council, and that was because I received a document from a city employee who has indicated that if I chose to do this and request council to not approve it, as I'm doing, is a form of harassment to that person, that employee. Now,
I don't think we should get into personnel issues in this forum.
Well,
I would just caution the council not to get into personnel issues
Well,
about
the
what an
reason-
employee said.
well, the reason I'm doing this is because it was brought before the city council and asked the city council to prevent a public servant from performing his fiduciary responsibilities. That's why I'm bringing this before the council. Now, if I can't do that, when do I get a chance to talk about an issue that an employee brings to the council to prevent a city councilman from doing his job duty?
If you believe that a forensic audit is required, the recommendation, I think we need to determine, are you looking for a forensic audit or are you looking for a detailed audit? I think maybe we need more definition of what the problem or concern is, and maybe we can put the right wording with it. You may be looking for a detailed audit. But if you think that there is something that has gone wrong, I think the appropriate tool is to call the DA's office.
Well, my concern was because of our budgetary process. You know, we have a lot of processes in our budgets, in our reporting mechanisms, in our human resources departments that indicate that we need to take a deeper look and to find out really what's going on in these departments where our funding cycles and our reporting mechanisms are not adequate that they should be. You know, regards to our budgetary processes, what I was talking about, okay? And to answer Councilman Williamson's questions, it is specific. It is not all over the chart. It's just two departments, finance and human resources. That's all. And as I said,
You may be, like I said, maybe if you give a more detailed, maybe it requires maybe sitting down with the city manager, I would recommend, and giving a detail of exactly what the problem is you're looking at. Because if you say you want to look at X department, what in X department do you want to look at?
Well,
I just wanted to indicate this in my speaking with others on this in law enforcement. The audit that we have is sometimes more widespread than what you would look at in a forensic audit, because a forensic audit is looking at something, you know, it's investigatory. So maybe we just need to sit down and get more clarification on what it is, you know, you're looking for, or what concerns you may have. You know,
Well,
like I said, that may give us
yeah.
a better direction on where we should go.
Let me just say this, and it's not my position here tonight to try to convince any council member to support it or not support it. I just wanted to make my intentions clear, because there has been some discussion about what my intent was for this audit. And I just want to make it perfectly clear that my intent for forensic audit was to allow our new city manager, our chief negotiator, an opportunity to start out with a fresh set of books. For the last several years, you know, we've had deficit spending and negative budgets and being behind $3 million, $4 million. I think this year maybe $7 to $8 million. And when we discussed this with some of the candidates who were applying for the city manager's job, I thought I would take a perfect opportunity to find out if I was off track. And to my surprise, in asking every one of these candidates, the city manager candidates in our last round of questioning, what do they think about a forensic audit? And not one thought it was a bad idea. Everyone said they thought it was a good idea. They felt like it was just a regular part of doing business. They said that it's good for everyone involved, because at least the city manager would have a fresh look at the books and see exactly where we need to make cuts, or where we need to add work, or where we need to put money in departments, if money in departments are in areas where they should not be. Everyone said it was a good thing. So with them feeling that way about it, why are we so tense when we say about a forensic audit and it's for investigative purposes and trying to put people in jail? My intent, just so it's clear, is that our new city manager, who has watched us on television, who has talked with us in person, and has made it clear in a room of all council members that they had no problem with a forensic audit and felt like it was the best thing for all concerned. That's my request for an audit, the forensic audit.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes, I was in the same room he was in also. No one thought it was a bad idea. All the candidates said it's a good tool. And they clearly stated it is not so intentional for criminal activity. We need a fresh look. I proposed this some time ago. Back to wait. Let them table it. Let the city manager supposed to get someone to come in and explain it to council that's in lieu of a workshop. Has not happened. Can't find anybody. So what I'm suggesting that we go ahead and pass this, shift the burden on the city manager. Now he got a direction. He has a directive to get this thing done. Now, phone calls, different audit firms, nothing. It's difficult for me to believe that you can't find no one to come down here and explain to the council the impact of a forensic audit. Everything is not. It was not my intentions to punish anybody, but we need to know what's there. I've been going off of the council. We got new council members here. We got a new city manager coming here. We got to have a fresh pair of eyes to look at. Now, if we find something, so be it. We don't have to go back for an investigation. You'll have all the details and the data that you need. Now, all autopsies are not called made mandatory because they suspect criminal activity. But if you do an autopsy on a body, you find that it defines something else. You don't have to go back and recollect some more data. You got all your data right there. Same thing with forensic audit. You have all your data. Just submit it to the next level. But I find it kind of interesting, and I was exposed to the same department head that he was exposed to. I had a problem. Why that department head didn't have a problem before when I wrote this up? This department head was so nervous and shaky.
Councilman, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you
May
are-
I interrupt
it
you,
made
sir?
absolutely no sense.
Councilmember Lewis, I
It-
think
it
you're out
made
of
absolute-
order. City
Councilman-
Attorney, would you please advise him? 'Cause
I-
he's out of order.
May I-
Advise me to what?
He is out of order. We've
Out
totally
of-
gotten
Mayor,
off
you're
of-
not Mayor.
We've totally gotten
You chair
off
the
of
meeting, Mayor.
this.
You don't call nothing.
You
here.
are out of order.
I am not
That's
out
why
of
I'm
order.
chairing the meeting.
A city attorney.
So
I am not
advise
calling
him,
I'm
because I
not
am
calling
gonna take a vote
anyone's
to get him out of
name.
here.
I'm not calling anybody's name. We are always exposed to this letter here. I don't have my copy. Requesting that it be council pull this. This is a form of harassment
Val.
and all this kind of stuff. Look, look.
Councilman, may I interrupt you,
Let
sir?
me tell you something, city attorney. You're treading on thin ice.
No, she's not.
Oh,
She's-
yes,
Okay,
she's-
you don't know
she's
what I'm
not
about.
around right
When
now.
he
Let me
finishes
tell you
off-
something. You don't know what I'm about to tell you.
City
Mayor,
secretary,
you
city
don't know,
secretary.
Mayor.
In a minute, I'm gonna ask
Mayor,
you to
you
take
don't
a
know
vote.
what I'm about to say.
We're
So
going to
you-
take a break. We're going to take
Well,
a
I'll tell you
5-minute
what.
break because
I'm
this
going
will
to
not
tell you
cease
what.
without it.
We already have somebody writing bad checks on the council, on this city tax bill. We got somebody writing bad checks on. I warn you,
Let's go.
they're writing bad checks. Now the DA has it. I warn you.
Councilmember Lewis?
Here.
Councilmember Williamson?
Reluctantly, I'm here.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Camo?
Mayor, I'd just like to clarify for those in the audience and those at home, as some of our former councilmen used to say, that we do not do deficit spending, nor do we pass deficit budgets. State law will not permit us to pass a deficit budget. Just want to make that very clear to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Camo, for making certain that the public heard the truth. It's been moved in second. Oh, wait a minute. Is Councilmember Williamson? Councilmember Williamson?
Okay, are we still on this audit thing?
Yeah, we're finishing it off. Go ahead.
At least through all this commotion, I've gotten some answers. There are some council members that have questions about some departments. A forensic audit is not a tool that can be used like that. That's not going to answer the questions that I've heard. There's a lot of procedural questions, a lot of who shot John questions, and the forensic audit is not the first or the primary tool for that. That begins with a detailed audit. And I'm not opposed to that. I think we ought to be doing a detailed audit every so many years anyway. But we have to know what it is we're buying. Forensic audits would run as much as $200,000 if we wanted to do the entire city for an entire year. And there's really no basis for that I know of. There may be a reason to do a detailed audit. But the questions that I've heard and the information that the council members are seeking is not going to be furnished even by that detailed audit. A lot of that is budget analysis, and we have hired an analyst. I don't think he's really fully engaged yet because we're short in accounting. But I would like to see a budget analysis done, department by department, because I think there's some procedures that can be improved, and I think a lot of things can be improved when we start comparing ourselves against other cities, especially those cities that are model cities in this various areas. There may be a city that does streets better, maybe one that does accounting better, might be one that does fire better. And the budget analyst's job is to constantly be comparing us to the best practices in the country and maybe in the world to see how we match up. And so the combination of a detailed audit and a budget analysis could be very good tools, I think, to help the council to first understand what's going on, and second, to make improvements. My point in bringing the question here tonight on this resolution is that we don't know the limits. The resolution just calls for the city manager to go out there and get an RFP from somebody to do a forensic audit. It doesn't say on what, and it doesn't say for how long. And so the question is, what do you want to audit and for how long? Well, it turns out we don't want to audit the entire city. I mean, we may not want to audit it for more than a year. And so at $200,000 per year for the whole city, going back, we could spend $1 million and not get our questions answered. That's the reason I want to table this to a workshop. We need to discuss what it is we think we have a problem with, where we want to go, and what the best tools are to get us there. And so now I think with all the discussion that I've heard, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion again to table this to
Wait a
a
minute, Reverend
workshop.
Scott, Councilmember Scott has not had a chance to speak, and I know you're making the motion to table.
Well, I'll withhold it
I think
until
he need-
everybody gets
he's-
done what they have to say.
He's the only one who has not. Councilmember Scott, you want to speak before he
Thank
makes
you,
his
Mayor.
motion?
Okay, Councilman Williams spoke about how much it's going to cost us, $200,000 or whatever. And we've been in a position where we had to, so far we're concerned about this money, but we was in a position where we had to go and use $9 million out of reserve to balance the budget. Okay? So when we get in that type of situation, we have a lot of budgeted problems. So, I'm saying, if Councilman Williams saying there's a lot of details, that's the same thing they said a forensic audit would do. It's a lot of go in details and give us what we need to see. The city attorney made a comment about it could be an investigation tool. Okay, so it's not saying that any criminal activity has been done, but it's investigating on whether policies and procedures have been followed through. And so it's nothing wrong with us investigating if our policies and procedures are being followed through. And I've been here 4 years, so I've been in the dark on certain things that we've done according to policies and procedures. I know new council members have just come on, so they're not aware of a lot of things that's going on. Again, I have no reason not to feel that a forensic audit shouldn't be done. Because first of all, like Councilman Moses said, we spoke to all these different applicants that filed, that we spoke for about applying for the city manager job. We spoke to all of them, and all of them said the same thing, like he said. I was in that room also. So, detail or forensic. Investigation, if you investigate, there's no criminal activity, that's where it stops at. And through the investigation, that determines if criminal activity has been done. If no criminal activity has been done, then we stop with the investigation. We get the details that will be given to us on where we stand, and if policies and procedures have been done properly, and then we through with it. So I don't have any problem with it, but it seems like a lot of people have a problem with it, and they're saying the cost, but hey, we spent a lot of money in various areas that, hey, we didn't mind spending it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I had to ask you, Councilmember Williamson, so that Councilmember Scott could speak. He was the only one who's not been given an opportunity, and everyone had to have been given an opportunity. So you have a motion to table?
If everybody's through talking about it.
Well, no, because there's
I'll-
some other lights on. Councilmember, so you want to just hold your table?
Well, has everyone finished the speech on it?
Councilmember Lewis's light is back on. Councilmember Lewis.
I'll be brief, Mayor. My take on this, pass the resolution. Resolution is unenforceable. It's just giving the city manager some direction where the council wants to go. And that city manager look into it, and if he having problems finding someone to come here, and can't find an auditor or someone familiar with these types of audits, he can come back to the council. It's a resolution giving him directions. Now, we just can't continue to have it hanging out there and nothing to get done. This is at least a month old. At least a month old. So we need to put the burden on the city manager, get it done. If you can't get it done, come back to council and let us know something.
Councilmember Mosley?
Well, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to be like Councilman Lewis and Scott and the others, and I agree, with some of what Councilman Williamson said, but I also, just like to let it be known from another standpoint when he indicated there were, a couple of questions, but there are also some concerns. And I spoke with some of the city managers in a different environment, and this is what their concerns were. And that's why I guess they say that, hey, it's no big deal, it's a detailed audit, and we do it all the time. But their concerns was this. One is financial status. They say need a forensic audit. It's expensive, but it is needed and will prove to be a worthwhile investment. They say there's hiring practices. The problem's there. They're questionable. Got a lot of employees for a city this size, far too many department heads. Why are jobs open and not filled? Others say the performance evaluations, recent evaluations of staff and employees. Others say the customer service problems. Nobody is ever home. They say it needs a total revamping because nobody answers the phones. Quality emphasis, they say. There are tons of employees, city looks abandoned, high weeds and grass everywhere, streets are in tough condition. What's happening with the funds you're getting in from industry, these major corporations? You should be rich. Managerial competency, they say. Seemingly nothing is getting done. They bet the citizens are always outraged. There's a strategic business plan in place. They say it doesn't seem to have employees and organizational units are not aligned with the government's vision, the goals, and the strategies. They talked about revenue management. They felt that there's not a business-like atmosphere in managing revenue sources and collections. They say the delinquent utility bills not aggressively being pursued for collections. Tax agreements, you're leaving too much money on the table. And they say operations management, which means they say critical areas for production and productivity. They say you need a strategy with detailed goals and objectives, projects for preventative programs, anticipated emergencies with budgets to cover and carry out the plan, accountability plan where it keeps good employees and develops or eliminates low performers. That's their concerns. That's our concerns. That's what the citizens want to correct. So if we are complaining about a $50,000 or $200,000 audit that's going to set the books right so we can get the city moving in the right direction now instead of keep waiting, we spend money in parks quickly, but we can't use the same kind of money to straighten out the books so the citizens can feel comfortable when their trash is not picked up on time, when they can't see stop signs at cross sections because the grass is too high. That's my reason for a forensic audit. And I hope it's understood. It's only for purposes to give our new city manager a good set of books so that he can get a good start to get us where we need to be, because he knows we are expected and have high anticipation and great expectations out of him to meet our concerns. And if he starts out in a position where he can't see what's happening, he got to figure out where he's going. He's spending more time trying to find out where monies are and departments are short than he have running the city. I really think that's what's happening with our last folks, but they don't last because they don't know where they are. And then we're all lost. That's my intention for a forensic audit.
Councilmember Williamson.
Well, I think you inadvertently just made my point, because 9 out of the 10 things you mentioned, an audit of any kind is not going to discover your answers for you. You need a budget analyst on duty. You may need a detailed audit, and if they find something, we'll go into forensic mode. We just need a workshop to hammer this out and see where we're going and what we want to do. Some blanket resolution is not going to get the problem solved. We're going to get that problem solved at a workshop. So I'm going to move the table this to a workshop so we can discuss this and figure out what to do.
There's a motion on the floor to table. Mayor Pro Tem?
Second.
It's been moved and second that we table proposed resolution 18697 to a workshop. City Secretary, would you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Albright?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
No.
Councilmember Mosley?
No.
Councilmember Scott? Councilmember Williamson?
Yes.
Mayor Prince?
Yes.
The motion to table carries.
Thank you.
Excuse me, City
Both.
Secretary. My mic wasn't on, so did you get my answer?
Yes,
No?
sir. I have you down
No?
for no.
Thank you.